What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Kramer, and in this episode, what we're going to be doing is breaking down the top 3 real estate investment strategies, which is long-term rentals, short-term rentals, and midterm rentals. And we're going to basically rank them and compare them across 5 categories, which is going to be cash flow potential, stability, scalability, time and management intensity, and barrier to entry. And at the end, we'll see which one is the best. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so we have our handy dandy scorecard here, and we're going to start with long-term rentals. So just so we have all the terms lined up and we're all on the same page, a long-term rental is the most classic real estate strategy where you buy a property and you rent it out on a 12-month lease and it's not furnished. So this is again, the most standard rental strategy that's out there. Now, whether you rent to just, a family, whether you rent via Section 8, it's all going to encompass into this rating. So first off, we have cash flow potential. I'm going to rate the cash flow potential of a long-term rental at a 2. Now, the reason why I give it a 2 out of 10, and by the way, all these ratings are going to be out of 10. So the reason why cash flow potential is a 2 is because, especially compared to these other 2 rental strategies, long-term rentals cash flow the least, especially if you buy properties today. Now, if you've been holding properties for the last 30 years, then sure, your cash flow is probably going to be phenomenal because you bought the property for peanuts. But if you're buying properties today, the cash flow potential of a long-term rental is going to be a 2 out of 10. Next up, we have stability and predictability. So I'm going to give this one a 10. And the reason is because out of all the investment strategies, this one is the most stable and the most predictable. Now, of course, real estate has its risks. And is it possible that a tenant doesn't pay you? Absolutely. But again, I'm comparing it to these other 3 rental strategies. When you have a 12-month lease in place or even a Section 8 lease backed by the government, this is as stable and predictable as you can get in the real estate industry. Next up, we have scalability, and I'm going to give this one a 4. Now, reason being is because, again, if you're buying properties today and you have next to no cash flow from your properties, the only way you can really scale is if you have money coming in from another source that's just completely fueling your long-term rental acquisitions, which is totally fine, but it's not like long-term rentals are a great strategy that's going to compound together. And I'll kind of show you what I mean when I compare it to the other rental strategies. Okay, next category, we have time and management intensity. I'm going to give this one a 10 out of 10. Now, what I mean by that is this is very low time intensity and low management intensity. So that's a good thing. Just so we're clear on the ratings here, that is a compliment towards long-term rentals, meaning you're not going to need a lot of time to actually manage a long-term rental. Once you have a renter in there, it is very low intensity. All right, and then for the last category for long-term rentals, barrier to entry, we're going to give this one a 3. Now, the reason why the barrier to entry is actually pretty low when it comes to long-term rentals is because since they don't really cash flow, it's hard for the average person to just buy a long-term rental because you're basically banking on it appreciating and paying down the mortgage over the next 20 or 30 years. So while yes, anyone can just buy a long-term rental, the reason why people don't is because they don't make great financial sense right now. So tallying that all up, long-term rentals earn a score of 29 out of 50. So far, we haven't done short-term or midterm rentals yet, but long-term rentals are number 1. Okay, moving on to short-term rentals. Cash flow potential on a scale of 1 to 10, we're going to rate it an 8. Now, if this category said revenue potential, it would get a 10 out of 10, but it's not. It's about cash flow potential, which is basically profit. And a lot of times you'll see these nice, big, flashy revenue numbers, but the expenses and profit margins for short-term rentals are never what the gurus want to tell you online. So yes, they're great cash flow properties, but not as great as the revenue screenshots they'll show you online. Okay, next category, we have stability and predictability. And we're going to leave this one right on a 5. Reason being is because for the average short-term rental in their peak months, the revenue is probably fairly predictable, although the types of stays that they have are 3 days here, 4 days here on average. So that can kind of be a little bit unpredictable. And then also during the off season for short-term rentals, that is extremely unpredictable for most markets. So given that, I would say in the peak season, it's closer to a 10. In the off season, it's closer to a 1, which is why it's going to average here at a 5. Okay, next category, we have scalability. And for this one, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Now, this is not biased. My first business was all about short-term rentals. I co-hosted 30 properties at one time, and I owned some short-term rentals as well. So I understand the scalability factor when it comes to short-term rentals. And I think there's a major reason why when people get good experience with short-term rentals, they decide to go for bigger properties and do like boutique hotels, for example. And it's because the idea of owning, let's just say 100 short-term rentals with 100 check-in and check-outs every single weekend, it's not scalable. Now, does that mean you can't make $1 million a year from short-term rentals? No, you absolutely can. But I wouldn't say short-term rentals is the most scalable vehicle, really due to the management intensity. So speaking of management intensity, I'm going to give short-term rentals a score of 1 out of 10. Now, what I mean by that, just so that the total score makes sense, is it is the most time and management intensive strategy out of them all. Like I mentioned before, you have constant turnovers, you have constant new guests, you have constant complaints, you have to manage reviews, vendors, guests. It's a lot. And again, you're listening to somebody who ran 30 Airbnbs at one time. I can tell you for a fact that it is a time and management intensive business. Okay, and then last category here, the barrier to entry. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10, meaning it's not very hard to get into the short-term rental game. Now, reason being for this is because lenders have made it super easy to qualify for loans, just given AirDNA data. So the barrier to entry, not that much. Really, anyone can buy a property and put it up on Airbnb. Now, with that being said, for a short-term rental to be a really great investment today, if you bought a property today, you're going to have to put in a lot of money to actually make that a successful property. But just overall, anyone can just get into the short-term rental game. So we haven't done midterm rentals yet, but our current live strategy ranking, we have long-term rentals right now at number 1 with 29 points, short-term rentals at number 2 with 26 points, and we're about to rate number 3, which is midterm rentals. Okay, midterm rentals, here we go. Cash flow potential, I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. Now, reason why I say 9 out of 10 is because, again, with short-term rentals, you see all the flashy revenue numbers. With midterm rentals, the revenue numbers aren't necessarily the most flashy thing in the entire world, but the fact that these guests stay for so long increases profit margins, and because of that, it increases cash flow potential. So midterm rentals, 9 out of 10 for cash flow potential. Category 2, stability and predictability. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. Now, the reason why I did that is because I rated long-term rentals a 10 out of 10, and midterm rentals factually are not as stable as long-term rentals because our leases are on average 3 to 6 months. But I'll also tell you that there are times where we do get 9-month leases, 12-month leases, or sometimes even more. But again, I'm trying to be unbiased here because I obviously love midterm rentals, but I'm going to give the stability and predictability category an 8 out of 10. All right, next up, we have scalability, and I'm going to give this category an 8 out of 10. Now, again, reason being is because we'll talk about the time and management intensity, which isn't that much, spoiler alert. But similarly to short-term and long-term rentals, it's very easy to get loans for these types of properties. And since the cash flow is so heavy when it comes to midterm rentals, it allows you to basically take that cash flow and invest in more properties without even using outside capital. So for that reason, I'm going to give the scalability factor for midterm rentals an 8 out of 10. Okay, next up, we have time and management intensity. For this one, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, meaning it's not very management intensive. And if you just compare that to what I rated short-term rentals, which was a 1 out of 10, and then long-term rentals, which was a 10 out of 10, this is slightly more management work than a long-term rental, but a lot less than a short-term rental. You still basically have to be there for your guests, but it's just not as high pressure as it is for a short-term rental. If there's an issue that arises at your property, of course, try your best to attend to it same day. But with midterm rentals, if you need to wait a day, not a big deal. If it was a short-term rental though, and you don't get to it within the hour, that guest is going to either ask for money back or leave a bad review or both. Okay, last category for midterm rentals here is barrier to entry. And I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 10. Now, the reason why I gave this one a 4 out of 10 is because most people honestly don't have what it takes mentally to do midterm rentals. And let me explain what I mean. So I had a short-term rental client that absolutely crushed it in the summertime, but we already knew that the winter time was going to be pretty rough. So I said to her, hey, we should do midterm rentals during the off season. And I just want to get her idea on it. And she's like, tell me more. And I basically said this to decide on whether or not I even wanted to pursue this with her. I said, here's the thing. If we do the short-term rental strategy, I can guarantee you, or almost guarantee you, that we're going to have a few weekends booked each month. We already know that we're going to get Christmas weekend booked. We already know that Thanksgiving is going to be booked, probably New Year's as well. So those are quote unquote predictable. With midterm rentals though, we're either going to have a 3-month booking or 0 booking. So if the calendar is completely empty, you basically can't freak out because it's either going to be completely bare or 3 to 6 months booked. And most people would rather hear that some revenue is going to come in rather than no revenue at all. Yes, my properties don't sit vacant very long, really at all. But I always like to prep people that for a midterm rental, you're basically trying to hit a jackpot. And either you hit the jackpot or you don't hit anything. So it's either a 3 to 6 month booking or nothing. And of course, there is an in between of like a 1-month booking. And yes, there's other strategies you can do to mitigate it. But I would say mentally speaking, most people don't have what it takes to actually mentally withstand a midterm rental. And they want something more predictable like a long-term rental, or they'd even rather just see some bookings on the books via a short-term rental. All right, so now it's time for the grand reveal of the strategy rankings. In first place, we have midterm rentals with 36 points. Number 2, we have long-term rentals at 29 points. And number 3, we have short-term rentals at 26 points. So I'm super curious. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Did you think I was fair? Did you think I was completely wrong on things? Let me know your full and honest opinions down below. Obviously, if you're interested in midterm rentals, that's what my podcast and YouTube channel is all about. So give me a follow, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.